Have you ever felt that chill down your spine when a fight begins and you just know deep in your chest that nothing will ever be the same once it's over? That's exactly what the Infinity Castle arc does to us. Demon Slayer has always known how to play with our emotions, but this film took everything to a level most fans simply weren't ready to face. Ufotable's animation surpassed anything we've ever seen in anime. The soundtrack went straight to the soul, and the fights, man, the fights in this film are something else entirely. Today, I'm going to tell you which are the 5 most emotional fights in the Infinity Castle. And look, it's not just about who won or lost. It's about what each battle represents, what it pulls out of us while we're watching. Take a deep breath, because some of these scenes are going to remind you exactly why you started watching this anime in the first place. 5. Inosuke and Zenitsu versus Doma. Let me start with a fight that carries something different from everything that came before it. Inosuke and Zenitsu facing Doma isn't just a physical battle. It's a battle loaded with accumulated pain, swallowed rage, and a thirst for justice that was built silently throughout the entire series. Doma is the demon responsible for the death of Inosuke's master, and he doesn't even remember it. That detail alone is devastating. Watching Inosuke realize who that demon is in the middle of combat is one of the most disturbing scenes in the film. The character who was always pure rage, pure instinct, suddenly freezes. That moment of recognition and pain is silent in a way that genuinely hurts. And then Zenitsu steps in. The kid the whole world underestimated throughout the entire series, ourselves included if we're being honest, shows up here with a presence nobody expected. The thunderclap and flash is absolutely brutal, fast, precise, devastating. Zenitsu doesn't say much in this fight, he simply acts, and that says more than any speech ever could. The victory over Doma isn't celebrated with cheering, it's felt with the weight of someone who lost something that never comes back, and that's exactly why this fight opens our list. 4. Tengen Uzui and the Pillars versus the Upper Moon Demons. The Infinity Castle is literally an endless maze. The hallways bend, the rooms shift position, and the pillars walk into this environment completely blind. And in the middle of that total chaos, watching the pillars hold their composure is both impressive and deeply unsettling. The fight involving Tengen Uzui carries that explosive energy that's always been his signature. But what the film adds is vulnerability. Tengen has walked into brutal battles before, but here the castle itself seems alive and working against him. Every step is a gamble. What makes this sequence so emotional isn't just the choreography, and it is absolutely mind-blowing, but the constant feeling that anything can happen. The film doesn't spare its characters. Nobody is safe, and that tension of not knowing who's going to be left standing transforms every second of combat into a breathless experience. The animation here reaches a level that's genuinely hard to put into words. The breathing technique effects, the speed of the movements, the lighting inside the castle, all of it together creates something that feels less like anime and more like art in motion. 3. Mitsuri Kanroja versus the Love Demon. Picture this. You've spent your whole life feeling like you don't belong anywhere, that you're too strange, too strong, too different. And then, in the middle of chaos, you find yourself face to face with something that seems to mirror exactly that loneliness. And the only way out is to fight with everything you have. That's Mitsuri's fight. The love pillar is perhaps the most underestimated character in the series, and the film finally gives her the space she deserves. Her breathing style is visually unique, fluid, almost like dancing, completely unlike anything we've seen before. Watching that in motion, with the animation quality of the Infinity Castle, is simply breathtaking. But what elevates this fight to another level is the emotional depth. Mitsuri isn't just defending humanity. She's proving to herself that everything that makes her different, what she always thought was her flaw, is exactly what makes her extraordinary. That resonates in a very human, very real way. When she smiles in the middle of the battle, it's not arrogance, it's relief. It's the first time she fully understands who she is. 2. Gyomei Hibejima versus Kokushibo. This one is different.
completely different. Gyomei Himejima, the stone pillar, is the most powerful warrior among the pillars, and Kokushibo is the strongest demon after Muzan himself. When these two meet inside the castle, the entire film seems to hold its breath right along with us. What happens in this fight isn't spectacle, it's gravity. Every blow feels like it weighs a ton. Every breath feels like it costs something. There's no lightness here, only strength, endurance, and the awareness that one mistake is enough to end everything. Gyomei's story is tragic in a particular way. A man who lost his sight, who went through one of the most painful backstories in the series, who carries an unshakable faith even after everything he's lived through. Watching him in this battle is watching someone who was already broken by the world and decided, in spite of it all, to stay standing. And Kokushibo isn't just a powerful villain, he's a mirror, a demon slayer who chose the opposite path, who sacrificed everything in the pursuit of strength, and who, somewhere, deep and well hidden, still carries the weight of that choice. This fight between them is about more than surviving. It's about what we choose to be when the world doesn't give us an easy option. Visually, the animation here reaches something I've never seen in anime before. Gyomei's movements with the chains and the axe are dense, impactful. There's no gratuitous fluidity. Every movement has a purpose, a cost, a consequence. And then we reach the end. This isn't a fight, it's a war of endurance. Muzan Kibutsuji, the king of demons, the being who destroyed Tanjiro's family, who turned Nezuko, who was responsible for every tear shed throughout the entire series, he's here, and the pillars need to hold him until dawn. Just that, hold on until the sun rises. It sounds simple when you say it like that, but when you see it, when you feel the weight of every passing second, of every pillar reaching their absolute limit, of Tanjiro refusing to fall even when his body no longer obeys, you understand that this battle is everything the series has ever built toward. Tanjiro, throughout the entire story, was never the strongest. He was never the fastest or the most talented. What he always had was a stubborn refusal to let go of the people he loves. And in this final battle, that's what remains. Not technique, not power. It's the stubbornness of a boy who made a promise to protect his sister and will honor that promise until his very last breath. Giyu, beside him, isn't just an ally. He's someone who also carried guilt for years, who also had to learn to accept that he deserved to be alive. Seeing the two of them together, with everything on the line, is the series' emotional arc reaching its highest point. And Muzan, few people talk about this, but Muzan in this final battle reveals something too. Behind the absolute power, behind the calculated coldness, there's an old and deep fear. The fear of dying, the fear of being forgotten. That doesn't make him sympathetic, but it makes him human in a way that's genuinely unsettling. The fight against Muzan is long, brutal, and demands everything from everyone. And when the sun finally begins to appear on the horizon, the feeling that hits isn't easy victory. It's relief, mixed with exhaustion, mixed with something that feels like gratitude. Gratitude for having followed this story all the way to the end. The Infinity Castle isn't just an action film. It's a long, painful farewell to characters we learn to love. Every fight carries a layer that goes far beyond choreography. And after all of that, after so much pain and perseverance, one question stays with you long after the credits roll. If Tanjiro lost everything he loves and still chose to keep fighting for what he believes in, would that be courage or something we don't even have a name for yet?